of you on the mic and just tell me, Nana. What was the last topic that I have stopped? Till where? Because I go to even A section, isn't it? It would be a bit confusion. So where did I stop? Capital and sources of capital. So did we start with long term? Just introduction. Okay, okay. So the strength is just 38. And I see us just take care those who have joined after 9-5. Just have a note of the students who have joined after 9-5. Nana. Is it clear? Just make a note of the students, yeah, who have come after 9-5. Now we are starting the class. So here, like if I ask a question, one of you please on your mic and answer, Nana. If not, I have to shift over to the screen and again see what you have typed and again come back to the PPTs. So please, whenever I ask a question, please on your mic and then answer and then off your mic. Okay, so now in the previous class, you have told that I have given the introduction. So capital and sources of capital is regarding joint stock company, or what we say it is limited liability company. Joint stock company or limited liability company, this is how they raise the capital in the business. The capital requirements are basically classified into two: fixed capital and working capital. Can anyone say what do you mean by fixed capital? On your mic and answer, Nana. What do you mean by fixed capital and working capital? On your mic and just answer, anyone. Fixed capital requirements refer to? Fixed capital refer to long term. Again, you are typing. I am asking you, please, on your mic and answer. Rather, you type again. I come back to the screen and go back to the PPT. Please on your mic and tell me, Nana, the answer. So here, in the case of fixed capital, the company's capital requirements are classified into two: fixed working capital and fixed capital and working capital. Fixed capital is once in the lifetime, which is for the long term, and working capital is recurring, which is to meet the day-to-day expenses of the company. Working capital requirement is required. So here, and how do we arrive at working capital? Current assets. Current assets refer to which can be quickly transferred into cash with zero risk are known as current assets, such as bank balance, cash in hand, short-term investments, which can be bills receivable, debtors. These are all known as current assets. Which you will study in 4th and 5th unit. What do you mean by current assets? But as of now, keep in your mind, what do you mean by current assets? Current assets are the assets, property that the company has, which can be converted quickly into cash with zero risk. Now, current liabilities are quick obligations which the company need to meet. Short-term commitments that the company has is known as current liabilities. So current property minus current commitments is known as working capital. So this is how we follow the concept of working capital. And the another very important point that you have to keep in mind is in your syllabus, they have segregated the concept of conventional and non-conventional. Basically, methods and sources of capital are one and the same. Methods of capital or sources of capital is one and the same. And here, conventional refer to long term. Conventional ante very old or widely accepted or traditional way of raising finance is known as conventional. And non-conventional refer to mid-term and short-term sources of finance, which are classified into non-conventional. So don't get confused in the exam if we ask briefly explain non-conventional sources of finance. And what you need to write? You need to write mid-term 4 and short-term 4. Okay, long-term we have 6. Is that clear? Conventional sources of finance, you have to write long term, which are classified into 6. Is it clear, Nana? So now don't get confused between what do you mean by conventional and non-conventional. Basically, methods or sources of finance are classified into 3: long term, mid term, and short term. And classification of conventional and non-conventional is long term comes under conventional and mid term and short term will come under non-conventional. So this you please keep in mind. Now let us start with the long term, that is conventional sources of finance, out of which the first one is own capital. All of you write in your notes the side heading so that you can compare this with that of the textbook. In this concept is there in Adeshri 16th chapter, 16th chapter, concept of capital and sources of capital. Okay, so now we are in first method or first source of finance, that is long term. Now long term is also known as conventional, under which the first one is own capital. What do you mean by own capital? Own capital refer to the capital that have been brought by the promoters. Who are the promoters here? Promoters refer to the people who have an idea of a joint stock company, such as CEOs, directors, managers, and so on. These are known as promoters of the company. And who are the owners of the company? The shareholders are the owners of the company. So own capital refer to when the promoters bring in capital to the business from their own funds, then we say it as own capital. Capital bought by promoters is known as own capital. Now coming to the second one, share capital. What do you mean by share capital? Here the structure of capital is divided into own capital, share capital, debentures, loans, from banks and financial institutions. Is it clear? So, therefore, own capital is one source. The second main source is share capital, which are widely accepted by all the joint stock companies. This is compulsory that it has share capital. And share capital is basically classified into two: preference share capital and equity share capital. Share capital is classified into two: preference share capital and equity share capital. Is it clear? So if you want to purchase shares which are classified into two: preference share capital and equity share capital, both have its own advantages and disadvantages. Now, preference share capital, let us start with the first type of share capital, that is known as preference share capital. The name itself says that preference would be given first. For what? For disbursement of dividends. First, the dividends would be paid to preference shareholders. Then later, if still there are profits, equity shareholders would be paid the dividends. Is it clear? So this is known as preference share capital. Capital raised through issue of preference shares is known as preference share capital. A preference shareholder enjoys two rights. What are the two rights? He is liable to get fixed rate of dividend. Whatever may be the profits, here the preference shareholder, irrespective of profits earned, he will get whatever the fixed rate of dividend that have been promised at the time of purchases will be paid. The second one is a right to return on capital. What do you mean by right to return on capital? It is nothing but the time of dissolution, closing down of the company, the capital first would be returned back to preference shares, then later the amount would be returned to the equity shareholders. So these are the two rights that are enjoyed by the preference shareholder. First preference would be given to get fixed rate of dividend to preference shareholders, and the second right is right to return on capital. This is at the time of closure or closing down. The first return, that first capital that have been invested, would be get back first by the preference shareholders, then later by the equity shareholders. Now, as I said, CRs, please take care of the numbers who are joining now. That is after 9-5. I want all the numbers who have joined after 9-5. Is it clear, Nana? Are you keeping a track of who have joined? Okay. So this is known as a preference share capital, and these are the two rights enjoyed. And here, before going to detail about preference shareholders, first keep in mind as to how a company normally paybacks its profits. First, the profits are given as interest on loans. First, the profits would be paid to distribute interest on loan raised. The second is interest on debentures. The second that the company pays off is interest on debentures. And the third one is preference shareholders, dividends to preference shareholders. Then fourth one is dividends to equity shareholders. And still, if the company has profits, the balance would be transferred to retained earnings account. This is an account maintained by the company to keep all the extra profits meeting all the commitments. After meeting all its commitments and obligations, the balance would be transferred to retained earnings account, which is used at the time of emergencies. Is it clear, Nana? This is how the company would disburse its profits every year. The 1st April to 31st March, the company closes its books of accounts, arrive at the profit, and the profit, whatever it gets, this is how it meets all its obligations. Any doubts anywhere? So that I'll start with types of preference shares. Any doubts, Nana? Please on your mic if you have any doubt. Yes? Any doubts? Shall I proceed? Types of preference shares. Now, going to types of preference shares. Types of preference shares, and another important thing is preference shareholders are not allowed to vote for general body meetings. So what are general body meetings? Any alterations regarding the body, any alterations regarding the directors, any alteration regarding the policies, this preference shareholders doesn't have right to vote. And if it is related, any alterations, any changes related to preference shares, then these shareholders have right to vote, but relating to only the affairs of preference shares only, not in the general body meetings. Who have the right to vote in general body meetings? The equity shareholder have the right to vote in general body meetings. Is it clear? Now coming to the types of preference shares, the first one is cumulative preference shares. Write down all of you in your notes, cumulative preference shares. What do you mean by cumulative preference shares? Cumulative preference shares have right to get arrears. What do you mean by arrears? Arrears refer to preference share dividend which have been declared in the past but not paid. So here, cumulative preference shareholders have right to get back the arrears what they have been promised in the past by the company. Such type of preference shares are known as cumulative preference shares. So if you observe anywhere, when you purchase the stock, that is the shares, after issuing, the company will definitely say based on the terms and conditions apply. What do you mean by terms and conditions? Which type of preference share are you purchasing? Is it cumulative, non-cumulative, or what? So each and every type of preference share have its own benefits and disadvantages. Is that clear? So cumulative refer to right to get back the arrears. What do you mean by arrears? Arrears refer to which have been promised to pay in the past but not paid. Such arrears can be claimed by cumulative preference shares. Now going to the non-cumulative preference shares. What do you mean by non-cumulative preference shares? These types of shares are not eligible for getting back the arrears. Whatever they pay for the current year, only for that they are eligible, and they are not eligible for previous year's arrears. That is known as non-cumulative preference shares. Is it clear, Nana? The people who are not entitled for arrears of preference share dividend is known as non-cumulative preference shares. Now going to the third type, participative preference shares. What do you mean by participative preference shares? These preference shareholders get dividends twice. How? One, the regular preference share dividend along with the preference shares, plus equity share dividend along with the equity shareholders. Therefore, these participative preference shareholders get dividend two times. One is regular preference share dividend plus equity share dividend. And based on the benefits and the advantages, the cost of each preference share would also differ, Nana. So how do they differentiate? Like participative preference share would be more costlier, cumulative preference share would be more costlier as they are entitled for arrears, and participative preference share gets dividends two times. It may be a bit costlier. Is it clear, Nana? So participative preference share ante they get dividends twice. Now going to the fourth one, redeemable preference shares. What do you mean by redeemable? You can take back these shares whenever you want. Such shares are known as redeemable preference shares. And if you will, not selling, taking back. Selling is different, taking back is different. Don't get confused between selling of shares and redeeming of shares. What do you mean by redeeming? Redeeming refer to the company takes back the shares and give you your capital what you have invested. That is known as a redeemable preference shares. Now, non-redeemable preference shares refer to these are not allowed to redeem till the lifetime of the company. You can sell, but you cannot redeem the preference shares. Such type of shares are known as non-redeemable preference shares. So, preference shares are classified into 5. Any doubts in any types of preference shares, Nana? That is cumulative, non-cumulative, participating, redeemable, and non-redeemable. Any doubts in any types of shares? 5 types. If not, I'll proceed to the next. 57A has left the meeting. Nana, any doubts, please on your mic and respond. 5 types of preference shares. Any doubts? If not, I'll proceed to the next. Equity shares. Why is this only 572 is answering always? 6Q, are you there in the class? How about the others? Are the 5 types of shares clear? What do you mean by participative preference share? 77, 577. Can you answer, Nana? What do you mean by participative preference share? On your mic. $577. Are you there in the class? $577 is not there in the class. The next, a Q, 6Q. 6Q, are you there in the class? Let me know what do you mean by participating shares? $6Q, are you there in the class? Even $6Q is also not there. $6G, is $6G there in the class? If you are there, please respond. Yeah, so what do you mean by participative shares? What do you mean by participating shares? Third type, get dividend twice. Very good. Once with 7Q has left the class. One with along with the preference shares, yeah, and the other is along with the equity. Very good, Nana. So 77 and 6Q are not there in the class. I just want to speak to them later. Now, let me proceed. So now the next one is equity share capital. Equity share capital, the equity share capital refer to share capital raised by issuing equity shares is known as equity share capital, and equity share capital is also known as ordinary shares. Equity shareholders have voting power as many as shares they are held with. And here the equity share capital gets the dividend last. First, interest on loan. Second, interest on debentures. Third, interest dividend on preference shares. And the last one is dividends on equity shares will be paid. So last priority would be given to equity shares. And the right that is enjoyed by equity share capital is they have right to vote regarding any changes in the general body meetings that do happen in the company. And the votes based on how many shares you are held, on that base, those many votes you can vote for your company. Now getting to the third one, retained earnings. What do you mean by retained earnings? I have told you earlier. Retained earnings refer to after meeting all its commitments, profit earned first would be meeting all its commitments, then later the balance would be transferred to this retained earnings account. Is that clear? Now going to the next one, long-term loans. So as I said, there is a distinction in accounts and economics between long term and short term. What is the period of long term that I have told? Long term is a period of, and what is a short term? Short term is a period of, long term is a period of, in the last class I have told you, Nana. Yeah, very good. 3 months to 1 year, very good. And short term refer to, long term refer to 1 year to 10 years. Very good. 572 and 520. Now coming back to our thing. So long-term loans refer to, why do we differentiate is when investors decide whether to invest in the company or not, they decide based on how much does the company have long-term loans, how much does the company have short-term loans. Endukante short-term loans have a danger of repaying in a short period of time. So if a company has profits, the company should worry about paying back its short-term loans rather than the returns that we invest in the company. So therefore, the investors carefully see what is the share capital, how much is the loan amount, a loan amount lo kuda how much is the long-term loan and how much is the short-term loan. Why? Because long-term loan has the emergence of repayment, but the long-term have time, enough time of gestation to pay back. So therefore, long term is a period of 1 year to 10 years, or it may be even 20 years, depending on the nature and type of the business. Now going to the fifth one, that is debentures. And what are shareholders known as? Shareholders are known as owners of the company. Debenture holders are known as creditors of the company. And what do the company issue if you purchase debentures? A certificate or a document or a letter issued by the company under common seal that so and so person have purchased so and so debentures at the rate of following interest. And always remember, a debenture holder is known as a creditor, a shareholder is known as a owner. And here another important thing is a debenture holder will get a certificate of debentures or a letter of debentures. A shareholder will get a certificate of shares issued by the company under common seal. And let us go with the types of debentures. Types of debentures are classified into 8. Types of debentures are classified into 8. Don't get confused between types of preference shares and types of debentures. Okay. Types of preference shares. Preference shares are the owners. Debentures are known as creditors. So therefore, please don't get confused between preference share types 5 and debentures 8. Okay. Now the first type of debenture is convertible debentures. The first type of debenture is convertible debentures. What do you mean by convertible debentures? Convertible debentures refer to these debentures are allowed to convert into equity shares. These debentures are allowed to convert into equity shares. Okay, such type of debentures are known as not preference shares. Why do you think so? These are not allowed to convert into preference shares, but only equity shares. Why? Because preference shareholders have right to get fixed percentage of dividends. But equity shareholders do fluctuate. In the year of higher profits, they get more, and the year of lesser profits, they get less. But what do the companies do is, listen carefully. At the time of higher profits, to give the benefit to its shares, the company issue bonus shares. Why? Because Indian company aite, the company if they declare a dividend, they have to pay dividend tax. And the dividend is tax free. The dividend is tax free in the hands of shareholder, but the payment of dividends attracts dividends in the case of dividend tax in the hands of the company. So therefore, in the years of higher profits, what do the company do is, rather giving more of dividends, they give bonus shares. And what is the tax concept of bonus shares is, it is tax free in the hands of shareholder, as well as tax free in the hands of company. And what do you mean by bonus shares? They declare 10%, 20%. And for every 100, you get 10 additional shares and get dividend on that 10 additional shares. Is it clear? So this is known as dividend bonus shares. So, and the first one is convertible debentures. Convertible debentures refer to these type of debentures are allowed to convert into equity shares. Is it clear, Nana? Did you understand the concept of bonus shares? As I said, this is not for your BEFA to get 3 credits, but it is an important aspect that you need to know. How do the companies run with the capital, and what are the benefits that they give to the shares if you invest, or if you work in a company, or if you start up your own? These are the important aspects that you need to know. I observe most of them are just owning the class and you are not at all listening. If I ask a question, the people who are in the class are only at, answering, and the remaining are just not even responding it. I'll speak to them. But anyhow, please, it is not like my personal issue. You can pass by studying all in one also. But these are the important things that you need to know for your future endeavors. So think matured, see the importance of the subject, and then please uh, thoroughly listen what really happens in the companies. This is a chance for you to know what really happens in the companies, because you need to work on in a company, or you need to start up a company, or you are a general investor. You may become a general investor in the company. Is it clear? So the convertible debentures referred to, which are allowed to be converted as equity shares. Now coming to the partly convertible debentures. Partly convertible refer to a part of, like, it may be 50%, it may be 40%, depends on the policy of the company. Those debenture holders are allowed to convert into equity. Those debenture holders are allowed to convert in the equity shareholders. So that is known as partly convertible debentures. Now coming to the non-convertible debentures. Non-convertible debentures refer to, these are not allowed to convert into equity shareholders. Till the lifetime, they have to be as debentures only. Convertible, partly convertible, non-convertible. Is it clear? Now going to the next one, secured debentures. What do you mean by secured debentures? The company provides certain security against these debentures. Like it may provide the building of the company as a security, it may provide a machinery as a security, or it may provide certain bonds as a security, so that at the time of uh, the closure, the company provides security that these are safe against the amount invested by the debenture holders. Now going to the partly secured debentures. Partly secured debentures are only 50% may be secured, or 60% may be secured, depends on the policy. That is, at the time of closure, these are for sure that either the company may give its security if it is not able to pay off the debentures amount. Now going to the unsecured debentures, these debentures doesn't have any security against the debenture amount that have been invested by the investor. Now coming to the redeemable debentures. Redeemable debentures refer to, you can take back after the prescribed maturity period of time. You can take back your debentures amount after the prescribed maturity time of that particular debenture. Like how we have in the case of RD, recurring deposit or fixed deposit. If it is a term of 65 days, you can, once the maturity, you can take back along with the interest. The same way, redeemable debentures refer to, after the maturity date, you can take back your amount, what you have invested. Now, non-redeemable debentures are not allowed to redeem or get back lifetime. Either you can sell it to others, but you cannot get back the amount that you have invested in this particular company in the form of debentures. So there are 8 types of debentures. Any doubts in any types of debentures? 8 types of preference shares are 5. Debentures are 8. Types of debentures are 8. Any doubts, Nana? You need to write all the 8 types, write the side heading and explain what it is. So any doubts in this debentures? Any types in any, once you repeat unsecured. Unsecured ante, Nana, you know what do you mean by security? Like for example, once you go for a loan to a company, they may ask a security, isn't it? Like housing loan, we give the papers itself, isn't it? The documents. But that is nothing but if you are a default payer, the company have the right, the bank have the right to take back your house, isn't it? So that is, and even if you buy a bike on a hire purchase, the ownership that you have in the registration would be on the company that gives you loan. Once you pay off all, then it will transfer in your name with no objection certificate. But once you are a defaulter, the company has the right to take back your bike. So that is known as security. Security refer to once the company is a defaulter, you can claim the security that the company has given you for your against your debentures. Is it clear, Nana? 7E? Clear? Yeah. So now these are 8 types of debentures. Just a second. So now going to the next one. Government grants and loans. What do you mean by government grants and loans? So here, if a company has eligibility of getting government grants and loans, even that is also one of the source of the capital. If you go and start a business in SEZ, that is special economic zone, or export oriented units, the government provides many benefits. As I said, it may have concessional rate of uh, interest, or it may provide tax-free benefits. So like that, whatever the benefits that have been provided, SSI, small scale industries, like that, if the company is eligible for that, the government provides grants and loans. So for such, this is also one of the source of raising capital, that is government grants and loans. Is it clear, Nana? So this is about the 6th one. So always remember, long-term source of finance or method of finance has basically 6, classified into 6 main headings, and each heading has debentures have 8 points, preference shares have 5 points, and this comes under conventional source of finance. Is that clear? Now I'm moving on to midterm. Midterm source of finance. Midterm source of finance are classified into 4. Midterm and short term are also known as non-conventional or modern methods of raising finance. Now, midterm lo, the first one is bank loan. Bank loan lo short term. It may be midterm or short term. There in long term, we have said long-term loan. Long-term loan is a period of 1 year to 10 years. Medium term may be 1 year to 3 years or 1 year. That is one source of finance. Now going to the second one, hire purchase. What do you mean by hire purchase? It's nothing but how we purchase our products by paying the basic down payment and balance in equal installments along with the interest. That is known as hire purchase system. Companies opt this method to purchase land, to purchase machinery, so that the company will not totally invest as a dead investment to purchase a particular machinery. So what do? They initially pay certain amount as down payment for such machinery, then the later balance along with the interest in the equal installments. So that is one of the sources as to how the company raise finance to purchase machinery, that is known as hire purchase system. Same as how Bajaj Electronics or TMC and all will offer us AC, fridge, TV, and so on. Isn't it? Initially, we pay with the down payment and the balance with equal installments. What we see it as EMIs, isn't it? So the same way the company opt to buy machinery, that is known as hire purchase. Now going to the third one, leasing or renting. What do you mean by leasing or renting? Hire purchase is one of the method as to how they own. They own the machinery, but the company has another option to lease, take that machine for lease or take that machine for rent. So there is one important concept that you need to know, all of you, at this junction, that what are the benefits if you own a machine and what are the benefits that you own or you take it for lease. So as per the company's decision, how on which would be more beneficial, they go for that. Higher ownership ante you can claim depreciation. Depreciation refer to depletion in the value of the asset due to normal wear and tear. సో యూ కెన్ క్లెయిమ్ అంటే ఏంటంటే ఈ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ డెప్రిసియేషన్ ప్రాఫిట్స్ లో నుంచి తీసేసి ఆన్ బ్యాలెన్స్ యూ నీడ్ టు పే ది ట్యాక్స్. Allowable expense refer to these are allowed to deduct from the profits and you have to pay only the net amount tax, not including the depreciation. And depreciation will be allowed to be claimed only when you are a owner. If you are a lessor, only you have to take it. Lessor ante owner, lessee ante person who takes the machine for rent. And if you take it for rent, the lease rent that you pay to the lessor would be allowed to be claimed. Isn't it? What you pay if you take it for lease rent, isn't it? So lease rent based on the lease agreement, a lease rent anedi will be allowed to deduct from the profits and you will pay tax only on the net amount. So what do the companies do? Maximum the tax benefit ostundi, which is more beneficial, such type of option they take. Own or lease is the management decision that would be taken by working out all possible factors and then decide whether to own the machinery or take it on lease. And like example, if the machinery frequently becomes obsolete and out of fashion away type of machines that people go for lease, and they take lease rent only for 5 years or 2 years, and once the lease agreement is over, they again take a new machine. Okay, వాళ్ళకి ఏ machine కావాలి, based on that and based on the benefits they decide whether to own or lease. Did you get this point, Nana, all of you? On what basis will the company decide to own machinery or to take the lease machine for lease? Okay, is it clear, Nana? Is it clear? Yeah. So this is how the companies normally decide whether to own a machinery or take it for lease. Lease rent and here depreciation. ఇప్పుడు depreciation ఇంకో example I'll give you. When you bring the car from a showroom, what happens? Though you use it or though you have run 0 kilometers, will you get back the same amount if you want to resell again? A brand new car brought out of the showroom, it loses its value, isn't it? It loses its value because it brought once it's brought out of showroom, then There starts the concept of depreciation. If you use for 3 months, it's different. If you use for 6 months, it's different. If you use for 1 year, it's different. The depreciation would be increasing as the number of years increase of usage. So such amount is known as depreciation. Amount we will value and we deduct from the profits. Is that clear? So that is known as depreciation. And lease rent, you know. Now let's go back to our sources. Now going to the last one, venture capital. Listen carefully. Nana. What is known as venture capital is if there are few risky projects, if the company feel there is high rate of risk in any particular project, any particular proposal, then what do the companies do is the companies search for venture capital. The mercantile banks offer venture capital where they take up the venture, the banks take up the venture, offer the amount of investment in that venture, and they take the profits 60%, 70%, and the 30% or 40% would be given to the company. And not only that, few venture capitalists, what they do is they also take up certain director positions based on the investment they provide. One or two director positions in the company so that they control the policies of the company as these venture capitalists are investing or they are financing that particular venture. Is that clear, Nana? If the company thinks that the accepting certain project or accepting certain proposal is highly risk, freelancers or venture capital banks provide venture capital, but in return what do they get is they get 60% of profits and only 40% or 30% would be paid to the company. And in return these venture capitalists may also ask a share in the equity or even a director positions. But the companies, why do they go rather taking the risk? It's better to hold on with 40% of profits rather than 100% of risk, is what few companies think. Or few companies may not bear such huge investment. So in such situations, what do? Is they go for venture capital. These venture, once the venture is over, then there would be no relation with these mercantile banks and the company. Is that clear, Nana? Did you follow what is venture capital? When the project or the proposal is too risky, the company may not don't go with it, rather search for venture capitalists, where many mercantile banks offer such venture capital, and in return they may take 60% profits as well as equity or as well as the positions of director one or two in order to control the policies of the company. Once the venture is over, there ends the contract. Is this clear, Nana? Shall I close with the midterm? Is the midterm clear? Yeah. Now let's move on with the next last one, that is a short-term source of finance. Now, short-term source of finance is, the first one is commercial paper. What do you mean by commercial paper? It is a paper issued to raise finance by the companies, a document such as what we say stamp papers. So issuing a stamp paper or a commercial paper, they raise the finance. Once the company pay off the amount, the commercial paper would be surrendered. So this is a short term, a period of 3 months to 1 year where the company can raise the finance by issuing commercial papers. Now the second one is bank overdraft. I think I've already discussed this. What do you mean by bank overdraft? Can anyone tell me, Nana? What do you mean by bank overdraft? Who can open bank overdraft? Who can claim the bank overdraft? Clear? Who can claim bank overdraft? Anyone in the class? What do you mean by bank overdraft? Persons who do business. Very good. They open what account? Business people open which a current account. Very good. And current account holders have the eligibility to withdraw the amount more than the balance they have. And how do the interest rate would differ? On what basis would the interest charged? daily basis. The interest would be charged daily basis and it would be deferred based on the RBI rules and regulations. The rate of interest would differ daily basis and you will pay interest on daily basis. So based on the terms, that is after 45 days or after 30 days, this overdraft amount along with the interest should be paid back to the bank. So this is known as bank overdraft. Now coming to the third one, trade credit. What do you mean by trade credit? Trade credit is nothing but a bill will be issued to the a person who purchases the goods, and the person who purchases the goods will not give you the amount once you give the goods, but once the sales are done, then only the amount would be paid. Like for example, a retailer takes 10 fridge, let us say 10 fridges from a wholesaler or a manufacturer. These amount of 10 fridges will not paid immediately to the wholesaler or manufacturer, but paid only once these 10 fridges are sold. Is that clear? That is known as trade credit. That is a mutual agreement between the retailer and the wholesaler, or the retailer or the manufacturer. Did you follow, Nana? Trade credit. The amount will not be immediately paid, but once the sales are done, then you will get the amount that you have given to a retailer. Normally, what are the chains of distribution? Manufacturer, producer to the wholesaler, wholesaler to the retailer, retailer to the customer. This is what we say channels of distribution in the market. So here, trade credit refer to the retailer will not immediately pay to the manufacturer, but paid once he sells the products is known as trade credit. Did you follow? What do you mean by trade credit? Now let us move on to the last concept. Did you follow, Nana? What do you mean by trade credit? Is trade credit followed? Yeah. So now, last one is debt factoring or credit factoring. So listen carefully. This is an example that also give. So if X debt factoring or credit factoring ante arrangement of a factor, a middleman, that is known as debt factoring or credit factoring. There are two types. Let us see what is first debt factoring. When X sells Y goods worth 5,000. When X sells Y goods worth rupees 5,000, who has to pay? Y has to pay to X. But Y cannot pay cash immediately because he don't have money. Y can't pay cash immediately. He agrees to pay after 2 months. But X wants the cash immediately because he has certain emergency. But X wants the cash immediately. Now, who has emergence? X has emergence. So what happens here? X arranges the factor. When X arranges the factor, we say it is debt factoring. So X enters into a debt factoring agreement with a third person known as Z. And who agrees to pay 4,500 immediately to Y, where Y pays to X later, immediately, and agrees to collect 5,000 after 2 months from Y. Okay, immediately Z gives 4,500 to Y to pay to X. And after 2 months, Z collects 5,000 from Y, so that 500 is the benefit that the Z get as a factor. Okay, then reverse to it. When Y arranges a factor, then we say credit factoring. And what happens here? If Y arranges Z, it is known as credit factoring, where Z pays 5,000 to X and later collects 5,500 from Y after 2 months. Is it clear, Nana? This is known as debt factoring. When X arranges, it is known as debt factoring. When Y arranges, it is known as credit factoring. Who have the necessity of money? They arrange this factor. The factor is known as middleman. So in this situation, Z is a factor. And if debt factoring, he have to allow discount. If credit factoring, he have to pay commission extra. X will give a discount of 500, and if it is credit factoring, Y have to pay extra commission of 500. Why? Because Z is paying immediately 5,000 on behalf of Y. So any doubt in this? Any doubts in this, Nana? This is the end of the concept. Conventional and non-conventional source of finance, or what we say it as methods or sources of finance. Yes, 578. Any doubts? $578. Any doubts? If not, mute your mic, Nana. So, any doubts, Nana, in the class? Did you follow all the long term, mid term, and short term? All of you, no doubts? Please respond. 578, please mute your mic, Nana. So is it clear? Shall we end it now? So today there is no quiz. On again we will, Wednesday is a holiday, isn't it? So again on Friday we will have the class.